All right, on Wednesday, we talk Owasso football with Bill Blankenship. He's their head football coach. This is brought to you by the folks at Tulsa Accident Care Center. They are the ones who sponsor this. And no accident, a nice lead at what was it, 35-7 at the half? I'd say you guys started pretty quickly. How did you feel?
Rick, we did. We came out well, especially defensively, and got after them pretty good. Noah Hill had a couple of nice punt returns. He had nearly 100 yards in punt returns on the night. Um, Two of those set us up really quickly, and Drew and Jaden Hall and the offensive pieces were all very active. Spread the ball around a lot, but got a lot going on. But I think it was mainly set up by the defense.
Yes, it was 7-0 at the quarter, so you think you're in somewhat of a dogfight. Then you exploded in the second quarter. Is the second quarter when those punt returns started to help, or did you just start rolling?
Yeah, we actually had a couple of situations on the first drive that we went for fourth down and didn't convert. And then they got a couple of first downs as well. And we just didn't finish the drive. We were actually driving early to start the second quarter. So in terms of how it all goes, I think we only missed on had one punt and one fourth down conversion that we failed on in the first quarter. But we were playing well defensively. Um, it seemed like we were getting the ball back and starting to, kind of figure out, it's a little bit like boxing, you do the probing, the jabbing and trying to figure out exactly where they were putting their players. Um, Norman North has a couple of really special defensive players
Yep.
and offensive players, and they were effective, and so they had juggled how they were going to play them on defense, and so it took us a little bit to match up and figure out where to run and where not to run.
Yeah, and that's one of the things people don't understand a lot of times. You look at a defense or you look at an offense, and then you come into a game and suddenly somebody's doing something they haven't done.
Right.
And it used to be fairly common that you didn't do that, or at least you didn't do that in whole. But with players who are really good, like that edge player and that corner they have who's so good, it's a little easier, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The more mature, the more experience your guy has, the more likely you can do some tweaks during the week and not mess him up. What we have to be careful as coaches is, it's not what we know, it's what we can get our players to execute. And
Yeah.
so sometimes we do make the mistake in the less experienced players, ask them to do too much. And so that's one of the traps we can fall into.
Well, and as you said before, and we've had these conversations, the last thing you want to do is overcoach. And so many guys, mattresses in offices and things like that. And it can really become this time of year. You can start to outthink yourself somewhat. And then you realize, wait a minute, I have Jalen Hall. I'm going to hand him the ball.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that's and Rick, it's something that we all fight. No matter how long I've been coaching it, you still get into it and you go, well, we could do and we could do and then what are we really good at?
Yes.
And let's keep working on those things. And that usually takes us right back to square one, and we can be really effective at these plays. And so let's do them.
Yeah, and I mentioned Hall. He had 15 carries. He averaged 6-7 a carry. So that's a good number of carries, but he didn't have to be overworked. At this time of year with those kinds of guys, they want to play and you want them on the field. You also want them fresh. So was that a good number of carries, you think, for him?
Absolutely. He actually probably got a few more in that early second half than we intended to because we got in our own way a little bit with penalties and didn't close it out as fast in the third quarter as we had hoped to. So he had a couple of drives that more than what we had hoped. But what it did also allowed us to do is, well, we were able to start spot substituting. And so putting in a young running back with this starting unit, putting in a couple of younger receivers that got to still play with Drew and the bulk of the offensive line. Take Brooks Barron out, but keep the other four O linemen intact because they need to play. So we were able to do that for nearly most of all the third quarter. So that did limit Jaden's carries a little bit, but it also let us get some quality reps for guys before we went to the twos.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask a question about that when we continue, but I want to remind you about Tulsa Accident Care Center because they are the sponsor of this segment for Bill and of course also for the Broken Arrows tomorrow. We talked to Coach Hill, and here's what they've done. Jared went and realized that after a car accident, if you need help, and I'm talking about your body, like you get hurt, then you have all these things to do. And let's be honest, you have to deal with insurance, and you have to deal with your car, and you have to deal with so many other things and the other people and all that. But then you have to take care of yourself, which might mean a doctor and physical education or physical rehab. It might need imaging. You might need MRIs or CTs. It might mean that maybe you need your blood drawn. Maybe you need your prescriptions done. And so what do? This doctor tells you to go around 16 places and you do that. But at Tulsa Accident Care Center, it's all in one building. You don't even have to have money to walk in. It's no out of pocket. You just walk in. There's no appointment necessary. You go in after a car accident and they're going to do all those things for you in one building. Now that's a better deal. That's all there is to it. It's just easier. Your life's already busy enough. You don't need it to be busier. Imagine walking out of one office, going two doors down, and getting the next thing done that would normally you'd have to go across town for. You don't have to. You just call them 888-8080 or see them in Broken Arrow, Owasso, or Tulsa. It is Tulsa Accident Care Center. I'm Rick Corey. This is the Rick Corey Sports Special. That's Bill Blankenship. We were just talking about spot substitutions. I love talking to coaches about this kind of thing. Many times we'll see a young quarterback who will go out with a first team offense, and we want to see them. We want to see how they do. You started mentioning being able to spot other guys. What are some of the hardest positions to spot replace? What are some of the easiest? And in your opinion, what are some of the most important early in their careers to get out there?
Well, I think quarterback's certainly one of them because we ask so much of those guys, and it's not always fair if we evaluate how ready a quarterback is by just putting him in with every backup that's out there.
Right.
There's a reason that first group is a little better, and so we like to. We don't always do it, but we like to get our number two quarterback in with the front group sometimes, just so he can have the comfort level of operating our offense because we never know when something's going to happen. We have to put a guy in. So that's one of the keys. I think also it's really hard to do it in the secondary, especially if you're playing a team that is really, really good, like Norman North was, with the elite receivers,
Yep.
Quarterback with good arm. You go, okay, I don't know how good a learning curve this is going to be for you to get out there and have to defend, Mason James. And so it's a little hard to do that. And so you might be a little slower in substituting some of those places and trying to get some new D linemen in, or maybe a linebacker, somebody that won't be exposed immediately. One of my good friends, Denver Johnson, always says it this way: we just don't want them to get their sword broke. We want them to be able to stay in the fight. And sometimes we can put them in a bad spot, and all of a sudden their confidence is shaken, and they're not growing and developing like we need to. So there is some thought given to some of those positions.
And to a couple of those places, and I want to get back to quarterback in a minute. When you start talking about offensive linemen specifically, they need to play together. So you're trying to piece some guys in there, or like you say, maybe one veteran with some other guys. How important is it, in your opinion, to get more of those guys in there at one time?
Well, it's just that constant battle we fight. Fortunately, you get some games where we can get a lead and we can make those decisions. Sometimes that doesn't present itself, and you've just got to keep your best players in as much as you can. So what we really try to do is to find you're kind of in your 1A guys, the ones that need to play because they're like our sixth offensive lineman probably can play two or three positions, or he's going to go in at a position and we're going to move a guy that can play two or three positions.
Right.
Because it doesn't necessarily mean that the right tackle goes down and the guy on the depth chart that says number two right tackle may not be the guy that plays. So we may have to put a guard in and move a guard to tackle and do all those. So we try to get a few of those things done in the first series or two when we make changes. And certainly late in the season like this, we're trying to figure out what are our pieces if one of our guys, goes down or is out for some reason. And so there's a little more thought process into, we've got Elon Reagan that plays in the backfield some as a lead blocker. Well, So we're trying to keep working somebody else into those spots as well.
Sure.
So it's
Oh,
always a challenge.
yeah, question about quarterback before we leave. You talk about a guy having to come in, and we've all seen that before. Quarterback gets way too much praise. They get way too much blame. We both know that too. However, one of the more important things, and Coach was talking about this at TU on Monday, and that is winning the huddle. So a guy's got to be a leader. Guys in that huddle, the other 10 people have to trust him. So when a guy comes off the bench, how does a backup quarterback, a guy who's normally your two, how does he win the huddle? How does he win the team? How does he get them on his side the same way that starter has them on their side? Because it is different.
Well, we've coached quarterbacks for and one of the things you try to teach them to do is, and this sounds, out of context a little, but bear with me. You got to fake it till you make it. I mean, you got to go in and talk loud, and you've got to get your eyes on people and at least carry yourself as if you're confident. And then you got to make plays. But initially, if you come in and you whisper the play call, oh, I think we're going to run 24, or that doesn't win anybody's confidence. Come in, take charge, be loud. A lot of us are in no huddle. Bark out your calls, direct your calls, be confident, set your running back where he needs to be, and let's go to work. And then ultimately, though, and I think Coach Lamb was alluding to this when he was talking, you got to make plays to let those guys know that you actually can fill the spot, the shoes. So it's one thing to project confidence, but also make enough plays that you actually have real confidence. And I'm telling you, players want to play with guys that can make plays.
There's no doubt that you get, as especially an offensive lineman, you get a quarterback like GJ was when you get him hit, and then he's trying to run through guys, and you'll run through walls for those guys. Let's briefly go to UConn. It's game 10. Somehow we've gotten to game 10 on this thing, and they've been a team that's been really up and down, very dangerous at times. At times they've looked really average. What do you see on film?
A dangerous team. We know some of their coaches, as you do. Brent Barnes has a history of having been at Union for a while, and then at Norman North when they had the Stoops boys playing, and he knows what he's doing in the passing game. He's an outstanding offensive coach. Lance Tigner's the O-line coach. Lance is an outstanding O-line coach. They're going to protect well. They're going to be prepared. They're a dangerous team offensively. They've got a receiver, Rick, that high jumped 7 foot last year. That's world class. And he is certainly dangerous. Defensively, they've given up a lot of points to some people and gotten pretty tough. They're physical. They've got a big, tough linebacker that also carries the ball on offense. He'll play both ways. That is really a really good player. But there are some places we think we can exploit. We think our team speed should help us. I think we're going to be able to get the ball in space and create some mismatches. And then defensively, I think our speed, again, on the defensive front can cause some problems. I don't think they'll be able to hold their protection very long. But if I know Coach Barnes and Coach Tigner well, they will have it schemed up to be able to get some play action shots.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely be ready. There's no doubt about that. Biggest deal is keep everybody healthy, be able to play some guys, give them a little time off. Then you got your bye week, and then you're going to get after it. Have you figured out your playoff scenario yet?
Got a pretty good idea. The irony is that there's a very good likelihood that UConn will play Deer Creek in the first round if things kind of fall like we think they will. If that happens, we could play UConn for a second time if they were to beat Deer Creek in the first round. So there is a scenario that we would see this bunch 2 out of the 3 weeks. So, but as everybody can read the paper and know, when you start going down the what ifs, there's still a lot of what ifs out there that have to fall into place.
Oh yeah, I mean it's like calculus, and forget it. I'm just going to wait until they tell me where to show up. Yeah. I mean, that's literally all I'm going to do. Well, keep them healthy, and we'll talk as we head to the playoffs. Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Rick.